Welcome to Hollywood Approved with Yael and Kristen. Each episode is an exploration of taste as we dive into the good, the bad, and the unexpected in TV and movies. Tune in for the celebrity guests and stay for the surprising recommendations. Plus, we're getting creative with modernizations and fan casting of some of our favorites. This is Hollywood Approved.
Woo! It's our first episode. That was a beautiful intro. Oh my goodness, that was gorgeous. So, fun fact, I actually met today's guest about 4 years ago on a plane from LA to New York, and now he's starring in shows like Superstore and Never Have I Ever. So give it up for our very first Hollywood-approved guest, Benjamin Norris, here to talk about Never Have I Ever Season 2, his comedy inspirations, and of course, his must-watch recommendations. So much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about Never Have I Ever Season 2 and what Trent is up to?
Season 2, they really dive back into the love triangle between Davey, Ben, and Paxton. Picks up right where it leaves off, and we just hit the ground running. And there's also a new character thrown into the mix named Anissa. She's the new Indian American girl at school, and Davey's not too excited about that. So there's a lot of shenanigans there. As far as Trent, one thing that I love about Trent is he's just sticking next to Paxton's side no matter what. You know, he's his boy for life, and he's a loyal best friend. But you're gonna see a lot of crazy stuff from Trent, a lot of ridiculous lines, and some ridiculous physicality. You know, some stunts, and so Trent stays Trent. I'll tell you that much.
Outside of acting, you're also working on your own content. Can you tell us about what your dream gig is down the line?
I would love to have my own show one day. You know, I've been pretty much writing my whole life, whether it was just telling stories that I thought up on the spot or actually writing script. I studied screenwriting in college. My ultimate goal is to have my own TV show. You know, write, create, star in. It would be a comedy, maybe a dark comedy, maybe kind of a dramedy, you know. But yeah, I want a platform where I can dive really deep into one specific character and tell their story.
What are some of your comedy inspirations?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them, but if I could pick a few, you know, I've always loved SNL, and so Kristen Wiig, Fred Armisen, those ones have always been huge inspirations. Steve Carell because of The Office, but I'm a big character person. I love doing characters. That's one of the reasons why Kristen Wiig and Fred Armisen, but also Kyle Mooney, who's a current cast member on SNL. I was watching his videos when they were on YouTube years ago, and I was kind of like, wow, I've never seen these kind of characters before, and I love that. So. Anything that's like really character driven and kind of weird.
Do you have any current characters that you do?
I have a few characters that are like my rock solid ones, and on my Instagram account, I used to post these character videos. My personal favorite, his name is Cameron, and he's an angsty 14, 15-year-old who loves Jackass, and he loves stunts. He's kind of a self-proclaimed stuntman. And then I also have a character named Marissa, who is a crowd favorite, who people love. And
I've seen Marissa, yes.
And I think I've always had a little Marissa in me. As a kid, I was not shy about kind of like dressing up as a girl every now and then to just kind of get in touch with my feminine side. And I think eventually it manifested itself into me creating a character named Marissa who is unapologetically herself and is not afraid to say certain things. And she's boy crazy, but at the same time, she wants to take care of herself first. And I love tapping into her. So those are kind of my two real like bread and butter characters.
That is awesome. I love it. And you want to tell people where they can check out your work on Instagram?
Yeah, on Instagram, my handle is Ben A. Norris, and I do sketches with my girlfriend. Like I said, I do character videos, so you can scroll through that, and you know, hopefully there's a little bit for everyone on there.
Now let's get into some of our, TV and movie conversation. I gotta know, what is the last thing that you just watched?
So the last thing I watched was Bo Burnham's new Netflix special, Inside.
Yes, that's gone like viral. Those songs are everywhere.
Viral. They're everywhere, and I knew it when I was watching it. I was like, this is special. Like, this is something else. We watched it the day it came out. I was just blown away by it. I've always been a fan of him. In college, I watched his old YouTube videos. But listen, this year was a really difficult year for everyone. And I do think that he really tapped into a very vulnerable, very dark place. And of course, it's a comedy special, so it's hilarious. But it also goes to this place where it's kind of like you got to confront the year that you just had. And that special really stuck with me for like 4 days. I was not myself for 4 days, and I eventually realized why. And it was because like I had this incredible year where Never Have I Ever came out and Superstore came out. I moved in with my beautiful girlfriend, and I had this amazing, exciting year. But it was also really hard. I'm a social creature. I miss my family. I miss my friends, and I think I really compartmentalized how difficult this year was. And when I saw Inside, it actually made me face and accept also how difficult this year was. And it made me laugh, but it also made me feel some things that were a little uncomfortable. And I think I needed that,
Yeah, I think we all needed it. It definitely like reflected what everyone was feeling. Now, the last thing I just watched, I've been doing a crazy Degrassi binge watch. I don't know if you watched Degrassi growing up, but like I've gone like far back. Like I watched the junior high in the 80s. I watched the high school. Now I'm on like the Next Generation. I'm on season 10. It's like an intense binge watch.
Oh wow! Oh, you're getting like real into it. I only watched in high school. If it was on, like I would watch it. And I feel like I really only watched like the high school years, I believe. But that was so cool because I feel like it's a Canadian show, and I felt like
love Canadian shows.
I felt like at the time, like the U.S. didn't really have anything like that for teens. Everything was a little watered down for us. But I remember I used to love watching that because I was like, they deal with some things, I
mean, that's why their slogan was Degrassi. They go there. They like really went there. They went there.
They did.
And what was crazy is like, I only really watched like the Next Generation on, like that was what I grew up with.
Right.
But like when I went back to the old ones, like it's the people that are the adults in the Next Generation, them as like 15, 16-year-olds. I feel like I've like followed their entire lives. I like know these people. Like we are family at this point, And it's crazy that like little details from the original ones, like from those 80s, like come back in the Next Generation, and it gives like so much more context and like this world that is like you're like in a real world. Like I've never seen a show so like incredibly detailed like that, where like you are at this school and everybody there and their parents and like it's like real. I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is why this is like one of the most groundbreaking teen shows of our generation,
That's what I loved about Freaks and Geeks when I watched it later when it wasn't on anymore, and that's exactly the reason why like that blew me away. It's hard to capture high school because it's not high schoolers making the show, but when it's done, you have that feeling of like, this makes sense.
Or when it's like people that are actually high school age playing high schoolers and not 30-year-olds playing high schoolers sometimes, which, sometimes it works. But, like in Glee, those people were old and they're playing high schoolers and you're like, this makes no sense. I don't know what's happening anymore, but I'm going to enjoy it anyway because this is chaos and I love it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
What about a show or a movie that you just discovered?
So I was late to the Schitt's Creek game and we just binged that, and I get it. I get why people love the show. Eugene Levy was also an inspiration of mine because I love Christopher Guest films. I'm also a huge mockumentary guy, and so I've always loved him. And Catherine O'Hara's
brilliant.
Out of this, she's out of this world. Every episode, she did something where I would turn to my girlfriend and be like, "Are you kidding me? But that show, you know, not only is it so of the times and great and important and all that, it's just like, it's funny, it has heart, but like, a family made that show. Like, that's so inspiring. It's so inspiring, you know. And watching the documentary about it afterwards, and Daniel Levy was talking about how he felt like they had the characters, they were ready to go, and Eugene was just like, we're not done with character development. We need to continue diving deep into these characters, because that's, if you watch any Christopher Guest movies, they take themselves so seriously because the characters are real and they're grounded, and you get that in Schitt's Creek, and it just like, it truly blew me away. One of the best lessons I learned is like, if you want to make something good, everyone involved has to care about it, and that's the secret ingredient. That show bleeds with care, you know, like it just really, it's coming out of its pores, you know. You could just tell, and you could tell they all love each other. You could just tell they all love each other.
Now, a show I just discovered was the new Gossip Girl reboot.
Oh, I have not seen it. Tell me about it, please.
Just came out, first episode. First of all, love that it's centered around people of color, LGBTQ characters. They like are really funny about the way that they like go back to the OG references. Like, they do it in like a way that like feels hilarious. And they actually reveal who Gossip Girl is, and who it is it's just like really funny to me, because it's not like you would expect. And I think it's like a fun take, because, you know, in the original Gossip Girl, you didn't know who it was. You're just like seeing all this like, you know, New York drama going on. And in this one, like, you know who it is up front. You're like, okay, all right. There's a lot of drama. It was just really fun. I like was not expecting that. I
feel like that's smart, because if we are in the world of kind of reboots and remakes, and if you want to make something good, you know, you have to put a twist on it. So that's very smart. I saw the trailer and it looks fantastic.
Now, what is a show or movie that you were obsessed with growing up?
That would be The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, there was a, you know, I after school, I would come home and I would watch TV every day, and I would watch movies all the time. But, you know, if I had to boil it down to one, it would be The Fresh Prince. If I came home after school and I'm surfing the channels and Fresh Prince is on, I was watching Fresh Prince. I would stop, you know, that's what I was watching. I just love that show. I actually want to show you my favorite shirt that I have.
Oh yeah.
Prepared. It's Carlton shirt.
Carlton.
So this is actually my second one. My first one got all ripped up, and my lovely girlfriend found this on eBay because they didn't make it anymore. So she got me a fresh one. This is my favorite shirt. It was my favorite show growing up. It is. It's true love. It really is. She did it very early on in our relationship, where she was actually like, I don't know if I should give this to him yet, because like, is that weird, you know? But it was, I mean, I was like,
you're a keeper.
I was like completely just like, oh my God, you know? But that was it for me. Like that show, it just did things that I had never seen before. And I've always been a huge Will Smith fan, and Carlton that was it for me. I mean, he was everything to me.
He created the most iconic dance ever. Like, it still lives on now. Like,
yes, legendary. It does.
A show or a movie that I grew up obsessed with is Back to the Future. Back to the Future.
That's a good one.
So iconic.
Yes, it is.
Like, growing up, we would watch it nonstop. That's like one of the things I collect is like Back to the Future merch. Actually, in 2015, when it was like the year that the second one, we went to the theaters and saw the second one. And it felt like we had never seen it before. Like, we were just with all these people watching it. It felt like we were watching it for the first time. Everyone was like, like cheering. So it was crazy. That movie meant so much to me growing up. My grandmother had it on VHS.
If I was going there, I was watching Back to the Future. My sister and I were watching Back to the Future, and like certain movies, I just consider just tight movies, and like those are tight films. They're just like, every piece is in place perfectly, and the casting is perfect.
Oh my God.
And it's just fun. It's just like, they're fun movies.
And finally, what is a movie or show that you think everyone should watch at least once?
Since I'm a comedy person, normally I would come out with some type of comedy. But over the pandemic, my decision on this question has changed since. Over the pandemic, we watched When They See Us on Netflix. And for those of you who don't know, it's about the 5 Black and Latino kids who were charged for sexual assault on a white woman in Central Park. They used to be called the Central Park 5. Now they're kind of known as the Exonerated 5. But they were all wrongly convicted, and they all did some type of prison time. And they've all been exonerated since. But still, it was just like Ava DuVernay did an unbelievable job with this. Like, it unfortunately is a perfect representation for just like how much further we have to go when it comes to race in America. Like all of our issues, our broken criminal justice system. And I was very familiar with the story. I'd already seen the documentary and read all about it. Mm-hmm. But watching Ava's, like, take on this, it was like jarring and haunting, and I just think it was very important. I really think that everyone should watch it, because like it will make you so mad and frustrated, and that's exactly how everyone kind of should be feeling about the way we deal with things in this country. So
absolutely,
I really think everyone should watch it at least once, because it just like we should not be running away from this.
For me, I would say Hamilton. I don't know if you watched the film. Oh, so good. It's so funny because, from New York, I never got to see it on Broadway. And now I'm kicking myself that I never got to see it. I mean, it was also impossible to get to see it. But like the fact that they got to bring that whole production into our homes, mm-hmm. First of all, incredible. Second of all, the fact that it's all brown and black actors it's just so beautifully done. The music, literally since I've listened to it, I've watched it like 5 times. That's all I listen to in the car. I do full-on performances in my living room. I'm like, it's so good. And I love that everybody from that is now like doing insane things. Like that was really a star-making Broadway show and also Disney Plus film.
I could talk about Hamilton for literally an hour. Like yes. I can't like. It would, and I'm realizing now it was pretty much a year ago that I saw it, because it came out on 4th of July on Disney mm-hmm. Plus. That's when my girlfriend and I watched it. But I have to say, like, we're watching it, and about halfway through, my girlfriend starts hysterically crying, and it wasn't really a sad part. And I look at her and I'm like, "Why are you crying?" And she goes, "I can't believe people could be this talented." And I was like, you're right. You have a point.
A Winter's Ball, Helpless, Satisfied. I can't stop. On repeat.
Yeah. For me, it's Helpless, Wait for It, and You'll Be Back, because it's just perfect. Wait for It. I would put it on, and I would just like be in my living room, doing it. Like I would just be like doing it.
Yeah, we're in this show right now. Lin-Manuel Miranda, man, it's just killing the game.
It's crazy. He's literally a genius. Like he's a genius.
Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us. Can you tell people where they can check out Never Have I Ever Season 2?
Yeah, Never Have I Ever Season 2 is on Netflix. Please watch it. And if you haven't watched the first season, definitely watch the first season. It's an important show. It's a fun show. It's a comedy, but it also goes places. And even though it's a young adult show, I've heard from so many older folks that were like, I didn't know that I would like it that much, and then I loved it. It's got something for everyone, and I truly believe in the show, and I really think it's for everyone. So please give it a watch.
Awesome. Thank you again, Benjamin Norris, for joining us. Thank you, Kristen, for handling that while I was out. It was really great. You are currently muted. Also, for those who don't know, the first photo has come out for the Sex and the City reboot, continuation, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we decided, wouldn't it be fun to fan cast and modernize the original Sex and the City. So we have been tasked with coming up with a couple or four fan casting ideas and how we would want to modernize and bring Sex and the City into 2021 if it were to be made today. And if you're watching us live or if you're watching us later, let us know how you would want to fan cast and what you think of our suggestions. Kristen, do you want to start with your pick for Carrie or how you want to modernize it?
Yes.
Okay.
So for my pick for Carrie, as you heard in that interview, I recently watched the Gossip Girl reboot, and I was really impressed by Tavi Gevinson, who plays a teacher at Constance Billiard, and who, if you didn't know, was, a young, basically like journalist, and created a whole magazine when she was young in real life, Rookie Magazine. And
Oh,
I just
wow.
thought, like, not only is that perfect casting, like, personally for her, but also I think it would be a really fun acting challenge, taking someone that's kind of like herself, but, in a different position. And so I was just like, I feel like a young, Carrie, maybe a Tavi Gevinson would be perfect for that.
I love that idea. I actually decided for my fan casting, all of mine are plus size women of color because I
Ooh.
decided that if we're going to make Sex and the City in 2021, I want it to look like New York in 2021. So for Carrie, I went with Jolene Purdy, who was recently in WandaVision. She was one of the main characters in Under the Dome, if you remember that CBS show. I think she's really wonderful, and she has that the big doe eyes that I feel like Carrie needs to be so, in love with the city, in love with love. Carrie's such a at least early on in the series, very, optimistic and doe-eyed. I think Jolene really has that and really captures it. Who do you have for Miranda?
Okay, so in my Sex and the City, I was kind of thinking of just like a group of young, hip, diverse women. So we had Tavi Gevinson for Carrie, and for Miranda, I wanted to do Aisha Dee, who you might know from The Bold Type.
Yes.
I think that she is so talented. I would love to see her playing maybe like a lesbian version of Miranda. And I would love to see her have stories that are like very realistic to her own experience. I feel like in The Bold Type they really dropped the ball on how they handled race many times in that show.
Yeah.
Even though it was a fun show, I thought they really did her dirty in the way that they handled Aisha Dee's character when it came to race. So I would love to have kind of give a new version of that, but stay a little bit truer to what she would end up experiencing as like a queer Black woman. So that's what I was thinking for.
I love that.
Miranda, what were you thinking?
Well, so what I love about yours is that you thought, because it's a similar character that you were giving her, but Miranda is very like uptight and structured and kind of conservative in the way that she behaved. And I feel like giving that to, taking Kat Edison, who was the opposite, who was very free and flowy. And I think that's so interesting. So I also thought of someone who was very not Miranda-like. And I picked Brittany Young, who was from Glow. And I thought it would be amazing because on Glow, we see her as this kind of shy, naive, athlete, and so to see her in Miranda where she is this confident, powerful woman, I think would be just so fascinating.
Yeah, I like that.
I also could see her being gay,
right?
Yes,
I see it.
All right, what about Charlotte?
Okay, Charlotte, I went with Jessica Sula, who is from the recent Amazon Prime Panic. I think in that show she played kind of a bit of a sneakier kind of character that's a little bit, out for herself. And so I think it'd be really different for her to play someone like Charlotte. But I think that it would work well, to have this I guess Charlotte was a little bit more I guess she was a little bit more on the conservative type. And to see, Jessica Sula come in and play that role, I think would be fun. It would also bring in some more diversity. A British Black woman coming in to the role, I think would be really fun. Yeah. What were you thinking?
I also picked a British black woman.
Yes.
I picked Lolly. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm going to butcher it, and I'm so sorry. Adefope from Shrill.
Ooh.
Because on
Okay.
Shrill, she was this loud, proud lesbian. And I really think it would be so amazing to see her go the complete, like, opposite, closed up, conservative, straight laced. You know, Charlotte was known for being very vanilla. And I think it would just be
Yeah.
so interesting to see Lolly in this role because I know her as her character from Shrill, who's so fun.
Mhm.
And I really wanted, I think a lot of my casting was like, who could play the opposite of what they've played? And
Yeah.
I
Give
really
them
love
something
that.
different to do.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, we have Samantha. What do you have for
Okay.
Samantha?
I'm excited for this one. For Samantha, I wanted to go with a plus size, sex positive, woman. I went with Barbie Ferreira, who's from
Yes.
Euphoria. I think I just like see her as a Samantha. I feel like that would be a really good role for her. I feel like it could be a little bit, taking her role from Euphoria, but like going to the next level and just having her be like unapologetically like herself and sex positive and being like, I'm hot, like deal with it,
I love that, actually. I love that a lot. I went older because I feel like Samantha was always older than the others, but I do really like your vote. So mine is silly because we're in the Hollywood Critics Association. I picked Carla Renata, who is a member of the Hollywood Critics Association, but is also a very established and amazing actor. And I think that, she would be so great as the Samantha, especially to this group, because she's a little bit older than the people that I picked. And because she is the curvy critic and like has embraced her body and her sexuality. And I think that's so wonderful. So I thought she'd be so great in
That
this
would
role.
be great. Oh, then once she's cast in this fictional version of Sex and the City we've made up, she's got to thank us.
Right.
Thank you for putting her up for it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before we started about how we're only casting the 4 women and not any of the men. And I think when I thought about this show and our fan casting, my mind went to, you got to pick the 4 women, the main characters, and then the storylines will be different. So I don't necessarily imagine in a 2021 version that there is a Mr. Big. And if there is, I don't imagine Carrie ending up with him.
Maybe it's not even a Mr. Big. Maybe it's like a Miss Big.
Right.
You could
I
do
can
anything,
see that.
really.
Yeah, I just feel like in 2021, the idea of this character who like is supposed to represent, I guess, the like dream, right? Like the stable, rich, handsome man. Is that the dream of 2021? I don't know that it is.
No, I feel like the dream of 2021 is health, but also, maybe they're more career focused. I mean, they were career focused, but maybe it was like career focused, but also through the lens of like finding love and sex in the city. Maybe it's like beyond that.
Yeah. Are there any characters that you feel have to be in a reboot?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like Stanford Blatch has to be there.
Yeah, maybe like Stanford. My goodness, I'm trying to remember. I'm already thinking about like what new trends would they create, because like that show was just like known for putting something on the screen and then it became trendy. Cosmos, right. Louboutins, the nameplate necklace. I mean, well, that was a little bit stealing from other cultures, but still, it became very popular because of that show. But other characters I'd want to see on there, honestly, I mean, the 4, I would love to see them bring in new people alongside them, and maybe a different take on Mr. Big. Maybe that's like something else.
Absolutely. I think one of my biggest pet peeves of the original series was that every episode you'd be introduced to some like friend of theirs, or like another friend, or someone they met at some point, or someone else important in their world, and then you never see them again. And that seems so odd to me when like we're at this person's baby shower, we're at this person's engagement party, but we never see them again, which is not how friendship works. So I would like in a reboot that their outside friend group continues to exist.
Continues to, yeah. It's not like, oh, we went to a different episode. You have poofed away.
Right. That friend who had the baby shower where her shoes got stolen.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the shoes got stolen.
Right. I'd like
That's why
to
they're
see
not
that
friends
girl
anymore.
again. Right. But they'd run into each other again.
Just like, you stole my shoes.
Right. Yeah, I think that is our fan cast for Sex and the City if we were going to reboot and modernize it. If you have any suggestions or how you would like to fan cast Sex and the City, let us know. Also, let us know in the comments what we should fan cast next, because, I think that we're going to keep doing that. We're going to come up with weird fan casts here on the show.
These were good ones. I really liked all these people that we've cast, so we got to make it happen.
I think a mixture of my suggestions and your suggestions will come up with something beautiful.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that is it for our show, for our very first Hollywood Approved here on the Hollywood Critics Association channel. Until next time, Kristen, where can everyone keep up with you on the internet, and what are you up to these days?
Oh, well, what am I up to? I've got a brand new show with my friend Yael Tygiel, Hollywood Approved. Make sure to watch it every Wednesday. And then to check me out on youtube.com/kmaldo, kmaldo on Twitter, Facebook, at a 1 at the end. You'll find me on Instagram. And I also host a podcast called Pop Culture Planet that's focused on representation and inclusion in the entertainment space. What about you, Yael?
Awesome. I'm everywhere on the internet at Yael Tygiel. That is YaelTygiel. I'm also hosting and producing the official Leverage Redemption After Show, a very distinctive podcast on the Electric Now channel. It is available every Saturday starting last week, and then it airs Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time on Electric Now. It's the only place to find it. We have behind the scenes interviews and scoop with the crew and the cast and all the stars coming out every week. And if you haven't watched Leverage Redemption, it's on IMDb TV. That is the last thing I watched, so check that out. And we'll be back next Wednesday for more of Hollywood Approved. Thanks, everybody.